Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into the fascinating world of economics, specifically the fascinating world of the demand for labor. It sounds dry, I know, but stick with me because this stuff is surprisingly interesting and also it impacts all of us. See, whether you're currently part of the labor force, dreaming of your first job, or even if you're thinking, hey, I'm going to be a robot overlord. I don't need to worry about jobs. Understanding how the demand for labor works is key to understanding how the world around us functions. Because behind every product we buy, every service we use, there are people working, producing and contributing to the economy. Today we're exploring what influences the demand for labor. Buckle up, grab your thinking caps and let's get started. So let's start with something that feels pretty intuitive: wages. Just like with that awesome vintage video game you've been wanting, the price matters. When we talk about the price of labor, we're talking about wages. The lower the wages, the more attractive it is for businesses to hire more workers, right? So think of it like this: if you could hire 2, 3, maybe even 10 people for the cost of one, wouldn't you be tempted to expand your business? That's the basic idea here. Conversely, if wages are super high, businesses might start thinking, maybe we can get by with fewer employees, or is there a robot for this? Here's another factor: skills. It's not just about having warm bodies to fill positions, it's about having the right skills for the job. If you've got a whole bunch of people applying for a job that requires coding skills, but none of them have ever seen a line of code in their life, well, that's going to be a problem for employers. On the flip side, when the workforce has the skills that are in high demand, think app developers, data analysts, solar panel installers, those workers are going to be in high demand, potentially driving up wages and job opportunities in those fields. Now let's talk productivity. No, not in that I need to be more productive with my to-do list kind of way, but in a bigger picture sense. If workers are producing more output per hour worked, that's good news for businesses. Higher productivity often means businesses can produce more goods or services with the same amount of resources or even fewer resources. And what happens when a business is doing well? They're more likely to expand, and expansion often means hiring more people. Chapter 4: Cooperant Factors. It takes a village and some tools. Hold on to your hats because we're about to get a tiny bit technical. Economists talk about something called cooperant factors of production, which is a fancy way of saying things that work together in the production process. Think of it like baking a cake. You need ingredients, but you also need an oven, mixing bowls, maybe even one of those cool stand mixers. In the business world, one of the big cooperant factors is capital investment, things like machinery, equipment and technology. And guess what? You often need people to operate those things. So an increase in capital investment usually goes hand in hand with an increase in demand for labor. Chapter 5: The Product Demand Domino Effect. Remember how we talked about those vintage video games earlier? Well, imagine for a moment that suddenly everyone and their grandma wants to get their hands on a vintage gaming console. What's going to happen? The demand for those consoles skyrockets. Now think about the companies that make those consoles, or in the case of vintage games, the companies that refurbish them. They're going to need more people to keep up with this surge in demand, right? This illustrates a key point. The demand for labor is often derived from the demand for the products or services that labor produces. Robots versus humans, the substitution factor. Okay, let's address the robot in the room. Technology is changing the job market, and one way it does that is through substitution. If a company can replace a worker with a machine and get the same output or even better output at a lower cost, they might be tempted to do just that. This doesn't mean robots are taking over the world yet. There are still plenty of jobs where human skills are irreplaceable, at least for now. Think about jobs that require creativity, empathy, complex problem solving, and those are areas where humans still have a leg up on our robot counterparts. Chapter 7: The Labor Cost Balancing Act. Here's our final factor for today, and it's a bit of a balancing act. Businesses care about their bottom line, right? So they're always trying to figure out the most cost-effective way to produce their goods or services. Labor costs are a big part of that equation. If labor costs represent a huge chunk of their total production costs, they might be more sensitive to changes in wages and more likely to look for ways to reduce their reliance on labor, maybe through automation or outsourcing. Keep those economic wheels turning. Thanks for joining us on this journey through the determinants of labor demand. We've covered a lot of ground, from the impact of wages and skills to the rise of automation and the importance of productivity. Understanding these factors gives you a framework for thinking about the job market. Whether you're a student trying to decide on a career path, an employee navigating your own career, or just a curious person trying to make sense of the world around you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more insightful content. See you next time.